Hey, good afternoon. I'm gonna sit that right here and we're gonna wait a few minutes. Hey, Dorothy, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon, Courtney. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. We're gonna wait a few minutes and give a few people an opportunity to join.
Watch him work it for you. He's not done with what he's not done until it's good. So let him turn it in your face. Watch him work it for your good. He's not done until it's not. Not done. Breaks my heart. They ain't believe in us. We the best. They play themselves. By you hating and being jealous, you could be over here embracing that love. More love, more blessings, more life. God did you either win with us or you watch us win. DJ Khaled. They wanted to stop. But look at us now. They counted us out. Trying to say anything that we were made. They didn't know I didn't know. Friends I crashed. Those guys, they don't want to see you last. They take $3 million to pay your tax. It's all for the money, I still can't relax.
Hey, y'all just bear with me, man. We're gonna start talking about this tax exempt investing here in just a few minutes. Y'all bring your friends in, man. We're gonna let everybody know about this tax exempt investing. If you want to join us, we're on Zoom. Zoom with Alvin.live. I know God did. Hey, man, it's been a minute. Wow. I'm probably gonna get emotional. Wow. I'm gonna just tell you, man, the riches are in the niches. And your niches are tied to your mission. Wow. Zoom with Alvin.live. We're gonna do it on Zoom here in a minute. We're gonna share this tax exempt investing. Never seen anything like it before. How you can put your money into multifamily assets and don't pay any taxes on your gain. Let's build. Let's go. What's up, Courtney? So just giving a few people a minute to join in. I got this recording. Hey, Terrell, good to see you. Man, I hadn't done this in about a year. I've been in the lab working it out. You know, sometimes the things that we even roll it out to the public. Hey, these are the things that we're doing. And they don't always work out the way we think. That don't mean they bad. Just didn't turn out the way we thought, when we thought. A lot of times that makes it better. That's been my experience, those divine delays. Those divine delays. That's another topic. So because we've had an opportunity to sit back for the last year as our projects got our permits in place. As we got our permits in place for our projects, trying to think of a better way, a safer way for our investors to partner with us to get more benefit by partnering with us. And I believe we got it. I believe we got it. 12 o'clock. Speaking to the souls made of those the existence that this cold world has chose for them. Kick the snow off and throw the tank. Back and forth on his turnpike really took a toll on them. A lot of fallen soldiers on his road to stand. Those who make the laws, I'ma always have smoke for them. I got lawyers like shooters. Working pro bono for him. It's a favor because I don't him. Memory of T-Law. I pray none of young people die over jail codes again. From the outside. Y'all give me a few minutes. Straight up 12 o'clock. You know, let a few people join us. You know, I'm getting my stuff together over here. Hey man, we're gonna talk about tax exempt investing. Have you ever heard of an opportunity to put your money in a multifamily asset? Man, Calendar did that with that song. Because it may contain music. Oh no. It's all good. Might have didn't want me to be great. They don't want me to pay DJ Khaled on Instagram Live, so it ended my live. It's all good. Huh? Come on, man. Come on, man. It's 12:02. Appreciate y'all for joining me. Y'all, several y'all are early. Appreciate y'all for tapping in. Hey, over here on Instagram, man, we're doing this on Zoom.
You can go to zoomwithalvin.live, zoomwithalvin.live, and we're going to talk about this tax exempt investing. Hey, Facebook, good to see y'all. Zoomwithalvin.live. So appreciate y'all. We're gonna talk about this real quick. And tax exempt investing. I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Give me just a minute. Y'all are early. And so you're on time. And so we just wanna give a few more people the time to tap in. This is really important, especially for those of us that are saying we want to build wealth and we minimizing our risk. Minimizing our risk and how we can invest. And so let me turn this on. Uh-oh. I'm just trying to get my view right, y'all, so I can share my screen here in just a minute. There we go. Okay. Gonna get this going in just a minute. Just want to give a few more people time to tap in. Appreciate y'all for joining me on Facebook too. Yep, I appreciate y'all. Just give me a minute. And we're gonna talk about this here in just a minute. A lot of my friends tapping in. What's up, Ahmed? Hey, Victor, Nikita. Hey, Earl Bender, Andrea, Courtney. I appreciate y'all. This is a great, tell you, for me, I think it's going to be a total game changer for our organization. And I'm gonna go ahead and start talking about it. So I have been in the real estate business, man, since high school, since 1982. Wow. And I started out as a painter, painting houses. Stephanie, you say no sound, huh? I don't know why you can't hear me over here. Can you hear me now? Oh. All right. So I always wanted to, hey man, good to see you, my friend. You know, being in real estate so long, I always wanted to try to monetize where I was. I thought I wanted to franchise, have a franchise model. They're still telling me on Instagram there's no sound. So hang on one second. I'm gonna turn the music off. Be back, guys. We're gonna start this live over. Turn the music off. Start it over. There we go. So always trying to monetize where I was and always being just way different. And so after all those years of fast forwarding in through the mortgage business and trying to have a mortgage business in the 90s and the early 2000s, trying to be different. How can I be different in the mortgage business? How can I provide a service that people would want to come to me? Because I can't go out and touch everybody. So how can I build it and they will truly, truly come? So I built my mortgage business around the education of my client and how I could make them know what they were doing and getting into, and I was ultra successful doing that. And then I built a business in the mortgage business catered to investors. And this was in the early 2000s. And that, turned out to be really, really good because I had a niche in that mortgage business where I only catered to predominantly one set of people, and that was an investor. And so we had programs set up for that. And we had our lines of credit set up for that. And so I'm just sharing with you, we're talking about tax exempt investing, but I want to tell you where the idea came from. And so always trying to be different, trying to differentiate myself and be different is how that got started. And so then I wound up because if we don't have a plan, we will wind up somewhere. And I wound up volunteering for a guy when I was 44 years old that had 16,000 units of apartments. And when I say I wound up there, it's because I knew of an appraiser guy who knew this guy and knew what I was trying to do in the business in real estate, just trying to find my way. Here I was, 44 years old. Life had fallen apart so many times, but boy, I hadn't quit. And so he introduced me to Steve, and Steve told me he would help me. And long story short, I went and volunteered for him. And after 13 months with him, he died. And I became the president of that organization that has 16,000 units. Today, that thing will be worth a couple of $2 billion, literally, probably $2 billion plus as a volunteer. And so after that, we walked that thing through a bankruptcy, got rid of all the assets. And here I am trying to figure out, how am I going to eat now? How am I going to be different now? How am I going to be in a space now where all of these people are in real estate? Out here, I've had what seems like to be a failed career. I worked for an organization that was huge that went down in flames because the owner died. And so how can I be different? How can I go back into the mortgage business? How can I go back into buying and flipping houses? Or how can I do something to eat, to be relevant to where people will want to come do business with me? And because that organization was in the affordable housing business, I had an opportunity to really see it from the top down and also from the bottom up. I went in as a volunteer. So I went in and dealing with the maintenance men on all of these properties. It was 66 properties across 9 states. And I went to every property and I saw the maintenance men and I asked them about the neighborhood, and I found out about the trash and all the deferred maintenance and why were these units like this. And I found out about the leasing processes. And I went through the management and then through the upper level of management. And by the time I was the president of that organization in like 13 months, then I didn't have a clue, but at least I knew what it looked like. And so from that, how can I be different? How can I be better? How can I attract the right people around me? How can I attract people to let me buy their properties now, since I have that experience? How can I? Always pushing the envelope. And so here we are today talking about tax exempt investing. And this came about because I have a passion for affordable housing. That passion came and it got reignited 8 weeks ago or so. And I'm gonna tell y'all this quick story. But I was with this lady, man, and we were talking about this neighborhood in Frisco, Texas, Stonebriar. And how those houses in there go from 3,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet. And, they started $500,000 up to $10 or $15 million. And we were talking about this apartment complex across the street from that neighborhood where those people lived. And so I wanted to find out about those people and who those people were. And she went on to tell me that those people, we started out talking about the value of the neighborhood and how the value of that neighborhood could be positively or negatively impacted by what's around it. And then we wound up talking about those apartments that were across the street from this ultra high class neighborhood. And those people lived in that neighborhood. And because those people lived in that neighborhood, I wanted to hear about those people. And those people happen to be people of lower income is what she referred to them as. And I said, well, lower income, let's talk about that. So those lower income people were people in Frisco, Texas that make between 80% and 60%. Well, let's back up. Affordable housing. I'm the president of Hope Housing Foundation. We serve a population of people that make between 120% of the area median income and 30% of the area median income. That's a big, big gap, 30% and 120. That's what HUD considers to be affordable housing, okay? So that means if you got a neighborhood like Frisco, Texas, where the area median income is 125,000, if we serve a population of people targeted at 80% and 50% of the area median income, that means we are serving a population of people that make between $60,000 and $100,000. That's 60% of the area median income and 80% of the area median income. That, my friend, is, well, in some neighborhoods, that is low income. Because in that particular neighborhood that me and this lady were talking about, those people lived in those apartments. And I told her that those people made between $100,000 and $65,000 because they lived in Frisco, Texas. That was low income. And man, she broke down crying. And I couldn't believe what the tears were about. And so I asked her about that. And she told me that she previously had lived in that neighborhood where those $3 million and $5 million houses were. And she had gone through a really bad divorce, and her husband had literally kicked her and her daughter out of their home, and they wound up living in an extended stay. And in order for her daughter to finish school in that neighborhood and, you know, to be somewhat close to home, she wound up applying for a townhome community that was next door to those apartments. And when she was able to move in, the last unit in that apartment, in that townhome community, the manager told her that the only reason she could move there was because she did not make over $100,000. So she became one of those people. Little did she know. So in most areas, that's what we deal with when we talk about affordable housing. We talk about those people because the people that make the decisions to allow these communities to come into their neighborhoods don't really know that they're probably one of those people too. One more quick example of that was we had an opportunity up in Minnesota, northern Minnesota, and one of the ladies on the Planning and Zoning Commission was actually had to vote on whether to allow this community to come in or not. And because she stood up and said, hey, y'all may not understand, but I just started making this kind of money when I started working here at the city. I was one of those people, and I technically still am, because my income is only $50,000 on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and because the area median income here is $80,000. 80% of that is $64,000, and I'm still below that. And so she voted for our community to come in, and because she voted for that to come in, and because she was one of those people, everybody understood that. So now what we've done is we have searched the tax laws, and we have searched and searched and searched for ways for people to be able to invest in multifamily assets to support the work that we're doing through a 501c3 and be able to have your gains, every dollar that you make, exempt from income tax. And so if you guys on Instagram want to go to zoomwithalvin.live, I'll show you what we're going to be looking at. That's zoomwithalvin.live. I believe if you need a passcode, some people have, some people haven't. It's multi with all caps. So if you guys want to see this, it's real simple. But I understood. So we have right now a portfolio of apartments that we recently financed with 501c3 bonds. Those 501c3 bonds allowed us the opportunity, because we are providing housing for people in certain neighborhoods we're providing housing for a certain demographic of people between 80% of the area median income and 50% of the area median income. The meeting ID for Zoom is 803-694-3756. 803-694-3756. If it asks you for a password, that should be multi, capital M-U-L-T-I. All right. So because we serve a population of people that fit between 80% of the area median income and 60% of the area median income, we get really high leverage. In some states, we get property tax exemptions, and we get to provide fulfill our mission of providing safe, decent, sanitary housing to the economically challenged and the workforce communities of America. So economically challenged, depending on what neighborhood you could be from, would be between 60% and 80% of the area median income. If that's Frisco, Texas, you make $100,000. You make between $60,000 and $100,000. If it's South Dallas, you might be between $12,000 and $18,000. So it really just depends on the area as to what that income bracket is. But there's some things in the tax code, and I'm gonna share my screen here. You guys on Instagram, zoomwithalvin.live, and you'll be able to see this. So what we have done, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share with you our project overview. This in no way is a solicitation for funds. I am not asking anybody on this IG Live, on this Facebook Live, on this Zoom call. I'm not asking any of you guys for any money. But I will tell you, if you want to, send some money to Hope Housing Foundation, you can go to hopehousingfoundation.org, and we do take donations. We are a 501c3 where you can get tax exempt donations. You can freely give to that. If you want to know what our investment portal looks like with the opportunities that we have there, if you go to hopehousingfoundation.org, you can click on the portal request there, and somebody will give you access. Waiting room, admit all. Somebody will give you access to look at the documents in that portal. Yes, zoomwithalvin.live. Yes, ma'am. And so after you get access to that portal, you'll see several documents. Oh man, I was working today. You'll see several documents in that portal. One of them will be this one. And it'll give you access to, we've got a PPM. You have to do, for that particular opportunity, you have to be certified as you have to be an accredited investor. But so again, I'm not asking for any funds on this call. I'm not asking for any money. But what I'm showing you is how we have had to be relevant. We've had to figure out a way to fulfill our mission. Remember, I said the riches are in the niches. I've heard people say that for years and years and years, where people have niched down into one industry and become super, super great at that. Well, I'm an affordable housing developer, and I didn't wear that proudly until about 2 months ago. And when this lady literally changed my life, that and let me know that my mission is very important. And then I probably heard something on the inside of me. It may have been God, it may have been the Holy Spirit, it may have been gas, I don't know. I believe I know what it is. But it told me that my niches are tied to my mission. And when I get back to fulfilling what my mission is, that anything and everything that I want will be able to be given to me, granted to me, because if I'm helping other people fulfill their dreams, guess what? All of my dreams are going to be really easy to be fulfilled as well. So, man, we went and figured out a way to where we can develop 185 units in Kaukauna, Wisconsin. This place is about 15 miles from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Small town America. Small town America. They have an area median income in that place of about $100,000. Little bitty town America. I don't know what the job industry is there, but a lot of manufacturing. I don't know if it's one particular industry or not. A lot of large construction companies are based up that way, and so anyway, one of the things that I want to show you, this tax code right here. Can y'all see my screen? Okay. Ooh, boy, I got so much stuff running here. It's telling me low resources. Open up. Courtney, Victor, can y'all see that? Okay. So what this says, if y'all were on Instagram, if you go to zonewithalvin.live, you'll see what we're doing. But because we provide a housing to a population of people in any particular market, Section 103 of the tax code provides that interest on fully registered qualified bonds issued by a corporation to finance residential rental projects is excludable from the gross income of the bondholders. And there are a couple of things that if that happens, and I'll go through those. So what did I just say? I just said that Section 103 of the IRS tax code provides that interest on fully registered qualified bonds. Okay, let's stop there. These fully registered qualified bonds that someone partnering with us would be issued by a bond issuer that we have a relationship with, and they are all over the country that provide bonds for this particular type of housing initiative. Okay. So they would issue us the fully registered with the SEC qualified bonds. So there's no need for you to worry about that, but you'll have an opportunity to see what that looks like. Issued by the corporation. The corporation would be any corporation that has congressional authority to issue these tax exempt bonds, okay? To finance residential rental projects, which is what we would be doing. We would be financing residential rental projects where at least 95% of the proceeds of the issues are used to provide residential or provide qualified residential rental projects. So that means for every dollar invested, the sponsor is responsible for spending 95 cents of every dollar on that project. That leaves 5% probably for administrative costs and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so we have audits on all the projects that prove that it substantiates that 95% of those funds have been spent on those projects. So that's easy. And the required percentage of units in the project will be occupied by individuals of low income within the meaning and for the period specified of the section 142D of the code of the IRS code, and if other applicable requirements of section 141 through 150 of the code are met. Okay, so what that means is the percentage of units in the project. So what we're required to do is you come back up to this portion that says tenant income. Well, let's go back up to qualified project period. The qualified project period. So as long as this project is financed with the bonds that were issued by our issuer, beginning on the first day in which the units were financed with the bonds or acquired, or 15 years after the date on which 50% of the units in the residential development are occupied first, 50% of these units in any development have to be set aside for individuals that make between 80% of the area median income and 50% of the area median income. Those are the elections that we made. As you can see here, tenant income, at least 50% of the rental units must be occupied by tenants earning no more than 80% of the AMI. So in a neighborhood where you've got the area median income at $100,000, our tenant makes between $50,000 and $80,000. Now, let me ask you, in any environment, who's your typical apartment tenant? How much do they normally make? Probably $50,000 to $80,000. If they're typically, if you're in a market where the average area median income is $100,000, the person living in your apartment complex probably makes $50,000 to $60,000 a year. So technically, all we did was specify that at least 50% of the units. So we got 185 units going in this development. So that means at least 50% of those are set aside for people that make between $50,000 and $80,000. Are those people? Those are those people. Those people probably are your EMTs that make $14, $15 an hour. Those people may be your firemen. Those people may be your school teachers teaching your kids. Those people may be your elected officials that want this or don't want this. Those people are the people that work in the restaurants where you go and get your food every night with your $100,000 a year income. We set aside 50% of the units for those people. Now, how is the rent calculated for those people? So as an investor, we want to know, are we losing any money by setting aside units for those people? So typically, HUD, the people that tell us all of these metrics and guidelines that we operate in, say that the average person makes spends about 30% of their income on housing. So let's do the math. If you make $50,000 a year times 0.30, that means you spending $15,000 a year. And I don't know why my camera just went dead or out, but I'll come back. But if you make $50,000 a year at 30% of your income, you're spending $15,000 a year on rent. If you divide that by 12, that means you're paying about $1,250 per month in rent at $50,000. That's our ideal tenant anyway. That person that makes $50,000 a year that's paying $1,250 a month, 30% of his income in rent, will probably occupy a 1 or 2 bedroom unit. So we're as a developer setting aside those units for those people that make between 50% and 80% of the area income. We're not losing a dime in rent. We don't have any Section 8 vouchers in that because why? Because, and even if we did, but I'm just painting the picture that those people don't always have Section 8 vouchers. That tenant that makes $50,000 a year, spending 30% of his income, can pay $1,250 a month in rent. So we have units for $1,250 a month. That unit a guy that makes $80,000, 80% of the income, that's spending 30% on rent, that's $2,000 a month. He's probably got a nice 3-bedroom unit with, really nice. And I think our top end rents there on that particular asset are right at $2,000. And that's a 2-bedroom with a den and all kind of really great deals. But what I'm doing is I'm painting a picture that those people are people that all of us know, all of us would love to have as a tenant, because those people make between 80 and 50% of the area median income, between $50,000 and $80,000 in this particular neighborhood. So what we have done is we have said that we are an affordable housing developer. We have gone to an issuer that has congressional authority to issue tax-exempt bonds. They have agreed to issue us up to $55 million in tax-exempt bonds to build this 185-unit community in Kaukauna, Wisconsin. We have agreed to set aside 50% of those units for those people that make between 80% and 50% of the area median income. Those people make between $50,000 and $80,000 a year. Yeah, those people. And we've agreed to do that for as long as these bonds are in place that finance this project. And because we have the ability to do that with those bonds, we're doing that with that level of housing for those people. Boy, I'm gonna beat that to death. Anybody that is a holder of those qualified bonds gets to include any gross income from their taxable income. Now, how do you become a holder of those bonds? You invest with Hope Housing Foundation. This particular deal, we're putting $10 million into this particular program, into this particular asset through a private placement memorandum, a 501c registered situation, debt fund where all of the money goes into this particular project, and the holders of that debt, the investors in this deal, totally different from a regular syndicated deal. How? This deal makes you a bond holder. You become my debtor. Am I your debtee? I owe you money. And you have a piece of paper, or you are a bond holder, signifying that you put $5 million, $10 million, $50,000, $100,000 into this deal as part of this fund that is financing this property, and it qualifies you for 100% of the gross income of these registered qualified bonds is exempted from your income tax. Simple. Simple math. Our goal with Hope House, no, not our goal, I'm sorry. We're building 20,000 units of apartments in 5 years. That's only 100 developments with 200 units. It's only 100. We're gonna put $10 million in each one of these developments. It's not a lot of money. 100 times 10 million. Not all at one time, over the next 5 years. But, and the cool part about this is, what if I have one of you guys watching this? What if, or listening to this, and you got $54 million? We got $54 million allocated for this project. You could finance this whole project for us. And they say, the math shows us that if you do a $100,000 mortgage at a certain interest rate, that $100,000 could potentially turn into $200,000, $300,000, whatever, right? So that means if it turned into $300,000 over the period of 35 or 40 years, that means that $200,000 is you made 200% on your money. And in this scenario, it would be 100% exempted from taxes. 100%. So we could literally put together a $54 million fund to finance this project, where the partners in this deal would own 100% of the debt, and 100% of their property, or 100% of their gains, are exempted from taxes. We're only doing it up to 10 million on this project. We'll probably do 10 million on the next one. And this is going to be caught on so well, because this is, I mean, now somebody would ask, why would, how I know this thing's going to get built? Oh, great question. We've hired a contractor that has been in business 75 years. They do about $300 million a year in multifamily construction. They have given us a guaranteed max price on building this development. And they are also doing a payment and performance bond with a guaranteed completion. They're guaranteeing us they're going to complete the building. They're guaranteeing us that they're going to perform and complete it within a certain time frame, and that all the bills will be paid when they're done. And they're guaranteeing us that they will deliver it at a max price. So there's no risk in the building not being built. The risk is if we build it, will they come? Well, that's the risk that every developer faces, but we do have data that supports that this 185 units of housing was needed by a market study report that was done by the city of Kaukauna less than a year ago. That shows that the city of 10,000, 15, 12,000 people, whatever it is, needed close to 300 units of housing, and we're providing just a little over that, a little over half of that. So we have supported the need for this development with a market study. We have encapsulated the investment with qualified bonds. That means that our investors or partners' money is already encapsulated with bonds. Now, when are those bonds redeemed, and how do our friends and partners get their money back? Perfect question. Thank you for asking that. We have this laid out to be a 5-year deal. What the bondholders, you'd be a bondholder as an investor, but the ones that bought 95% of the debt have allocated that these bonds are locked in place, the interest rate's locked, and we have a lockout period for 5 years, meaning we can't do anything for 5 years. We can't sell it, we can't do anything for 5 years. And then year 6 and year 7, there's a 1 year and a 2 year, or 1% or 2% and a 1% prepayment penalty in year 6 and in year 7. But what we can do in that time period is we can sell the last tranche of bonds to get our investors their money back. So what happens is we're going to put $10 million in investor money into this deal, our partner money, and allow that $10 million to be in qualified bonds to be held by our friends and partners. Those bonds were issued by a public finance authority. I can share that with you when you get into our portal and ask for more information. You'll get all that information. But those bonds were actually issued by that public authority that had congressional approval to do that, $54 million. Our placement agent, the way this works is we were issued those bonds, we placed those bonds with a placement agent. That placement agent services and sells most of the bonds across the country, municipal and tax exempt bonds. That our placement agent happens to be Piper Sandler. I don't have a problem saying that because they're a very large firm, widely known across the industry. That placement agent will actually underwrite the bonds, underwrite our project, and package those bonds to be sold. 44 million of those bonds will be sold at closing. 44 million plus enough to cover the debt service. So, well, 44 million, because what wrapped up in that total 54 million is debt service and everything, all the reserves needed to make this thing go for the next 5 years. Everything is in that 54 million. So out of that 44 million includes debt service. And our debt service is paid every 6 months on the bonds. So every 6 months, all of our bondholders will get a distribution payment based on their capital infusion. So if you put in $50,000, whatever your interest rate on your bond is what you'll be paid every 6 months. And then our last tranche, so I said, our placement agent will sell the first $44 million worth of bonds at closing, and our 10 million worth of equity will go in from our partners that bought the last 10 million worth of bonds at stabilization or thereafter. So that means the property will be built in 18 to 20 months. We've got a performance guarantee of our contractor of 24 months. They're telling me 18 months it'll be completed. I'm giving them 20, but we have 24 months worth of interest and everything calculated. So within 24 months, this thing will be completed with a certificate of occupancy. It'll be stabilized within 30 months. 2.5 years, we could literally sell the bonds at that particular time, the last tranche of the bonds. At that point, our investors' money is fully funded back to them with that 10 million, and everything they've made to that point has been exempted from taxes. We have the option in our private placement memorandum to take this up to 5 years. The flexibility this gives us in doing that is that at property completion, the property is worth one thing. At time tenants move in, it's worth something else. At stabilization, it's worth something else. A year later, it's worth something else. And so if we stabilize in 30 months and we hold the paper 48 months and then we go out to sell it, the paper is going to be worth more, it's aged more, the property is performing better than when it was new. We can get more of a premium on the bonds. Our bondholders are redeemed. They get to stay in the deal a little bit longer and make some tax exempt gains on their money. So it just gives us some flexibility, somewhere between 2.5 and 5 years to get out. And that's really about it. I mean, it's really simple. It's all on the premise of having a mission of providing affordable housing. That's what our organization does. We provide safe, decent, sanitary housing to the economically challenged and the workforce communities of America. Most of the workforce communities of America are financially challenged in some capacity, especially today going into a recession. When you have a community of people that make $100,000 and 80% of those people, or 80% of that is $80,000, and that person making $80,000 to $50,000 has no place to live because they have been priced out of housing, this is one way of curing that. We have an opportunity to stop that. We're not stopping rents from going up. What we're doing is making sure that the people that work in those places where we all eat and live and love to have fun in, because we all make $100,000 or more, those people have a place to live and they don't have to drive 50 or 100 miles to work every day. That's what affordable housing is really meant to do. That's what we're doing by fulfilling our mission. So we're looking for people that want to grow with us. We're looking to do more opportunities like this. If you are an investor and you want to partner with us on this, we'd welcome that. You can tap into our portal at hopehousingfoundation.org and get more information. If you are a property investor and you have property that you would love to see a development like this on, man, don't blow my phone up, because everybody's got property and everybody wants a development, but there are a lot of things that really make these things an opportunity for us. And so just having a piece of property is not initially the opportunity, because there's so much money spent on this before we even get started. So is it entitled? Is it entitled for housing and et cetera? So those are the things that really make this an opportunity. And the more that you have put in, then the more you can get out of it. But if you're looking to posture a piece of land or partner with a community organization doing great work anywhere across the country, that's us. We've got an initiative of 20,000 units in the next 5 years. We're going to hit that. We are going to, this is the first 10 million of probably close to $1 billion we'll put together through this tax exempt fund. Remember, 100 developments times $10 million is only $1 billion. 200 developments times 100 units, or 100 units times 200 developments, any way you size it up, it's still 20,000 units. And we can do that, and we can do it with your help. And if you guys want to partner with us, if you want to do good while doing good, and I'm not going to tell you the percentages that this money pays, but it's staggering. It's staggering. When I tell you that, let's just use for instance, let's just say that you invested $1 million into this deal, and because of the check size, you got a 10% return on your money. First of all, I'd like to know where you can put your money and get a 10% return passively, and know that it's wrapped by a secure investment like a bond. First of all, I'd like to know where that happens at. I don't think that happens anywhere. And if that does happen, are they going to pay you a 10% clip? Probably not. Surely not. Probably going to be close to about 0.25%, maybe 1%. And then, is it going to be exempt from any income tax because you made money on it? Surely not. So when I talk about doing good while doing good, when I'm talking about you can put money into a situation to change people's lives, to change the community, to change your city, to change your life, and do good while doing good, why wouldn't you want to do that? I know there's somebody right now under the sound of my voice that has that kind of influence with somebody that has the ability to write $100 million check. I don't need the checkbook. You can get your lawyers with my lawyers, your people and my people. And I promise you, they'll work it out to where you will be protected and we can do good while doing good together. Give me a call, Alvin. My email is alvin@372hope.org. Alvin@372hope.org. Man, get the word out. Hope Housing Foundation, we are doing 20,000 units of this housing. We are going to raise $1 billion of tax exempt earning money. And I need your help. I want you to be a part of this. If you're an accredited investor today, go to hopehousingfoundation.org, click on that portal, ask for access. I promise you, you'll get it. And man, let's go do this. This is the beginning. We've got 5 more deals postured up to do this quarter. We could literally close $200 million in transactions between now and April, probably be May. But when we get these started, our plant that's going to build our own structurally insulated panels will be financed the same way. And boy, when we bring all of everything in-house and we become a structurally, a completely vertically integrated organization, from engineering all the way to giving people the keys. Oh my God, we need your help, man. We're doing good and we want to do good with you. And so you can do good while doing good. Click hopehousingfoundation.org. Man, if this has added any value to you, please go to Google and give Hope Housing Foundation a 5-star review. Please do that for me. We had some clowns on a Google that lived in some that had some apartment somewhere. I don't know. Didn't have nothing to do with us. Somebody didn't pay their bill in the office where we office now, and that showed up on our Google review. If this has added any value to you, go to Google and give Hope Housing Foundation a 5-star review. Please do that for me. Let's change this thing around and let's go do good while doing good. I need y'all's help. I don't need y'all's help. I do need y'all's help, but y'all need our help. Y'all need to put your money in a place that's safe. And why not do it where you don't have to pay any taxes on your gains? Hey, are there any questions? Victor, Courtney, Andrea, y'all have any questions, man? Please tap in. I'd love to see if I can answer some questions these last 15 minutes. Ahmed, anybody? Darren?
Hey, Alvin, I had a question, or just maybe that you could clarify with others. What allows people to invest? Do they have to explain to people how they can, like, do they have to be accredited? And if they do have to be accredited, explain that just in case some people don't know that, just to educate.
Great. Thank you, Courtney. So this particular investment requires you to be an accredited investor. An accredited investor means that you have to have had an income of $200,000 a year as a single person for the last 2 years, with no anticipated reduction in income going forward, or as a couple, I believe that number is $300,000, and a net worth of $1 million or greater, not including your homestead. But if we have enough unaccredited investors interested in something like this, then there is a way for us to set up a fund to invest in a fund. So our attorneys have a fund that they could use for something like this, and that particular fund can invest into this tax exempt fund and receive the same benefits. I didn't go through the problem, or I didn't go through you can't have 2 funds like that set up to run simultaneously on one project. So I couldn't have an accredited fund and an unaccredited fund running simultaneously. But because my attorney has another situation, his fund can invest with us because his fund would be an accredited fund. And so if there was enough interest in investors doing that, then I would have you guys reach out to my attorney and he could work it out to where his fund could partner with our fund and reap those same kind of benefits. So thank you for asking that question.
I got one for you.
Hey, Victor.
Hey, man, thank you for dropping the knowledge, man. This is just amazing. You know, since we met and everything else, I've been a big fan of you for a long time. And once we had that conversation on the affordable housing definition, right? We all had this one concept of what it was before, right? And now, since we're in this market that we're in, it kind of evolved to something different.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing. And so just to narrow it down, because I don't want to give you a shotgun question, what what specific markets are you looking to work in? And I don't want to say, hey, you might be somewhere like, I don't want to be somewhere in BFE, right? Even though that if it'll fit, but there's certain areas that it's going to just blow up because that's where the need is.
Well, I'll tell you, BFE is really just about anywhere right now, Victor. We're doing that deal in Kokona, Wisconsin that has, 12, 15,000 people, and it's up on the river by Green Bay, Wisconsin, right? So nobody's ever even heard of Kokona, Wisconsin, unless you live within 15 or 20 miles of that place. So small town America needs it just as bad as the Dallas-Fort Worth region needs it. So our area of focus is literally right now, today, because of our national footprint with our general contractor and our organization that's providing all of our financing, the United States. We're working on a deal, sizing a deal right now with our buddy Ahmed Sarafi in Southern California. He's got a tract of land out there that he and our design engineer have designed a building that could fit on a little small, small 2.5, 3 acre tract, 150 units. But now, will the rents in that $60,000 area median income at 50%, because we have to serve a population of 50% and 80% at 30% of that income of that person that makes 80% of 50,000, which is 40, will that service the debt on that deal? And so we have to stress it to see, because within 50% of those units being set aside at 80%, of that 50, you've got another 20% set aside at 50. So you've got half the units at market, half of them set aside. 80% of the set aside is at 80%, 20% is at 50. So we have to stress some of those units down to the point where the person making $30,000 a year, paying $900 a month rent, has a place, and that's 20 of those units, 20 of the 100. Once you put those rent levels together, will that rent support that construction in Southern California? Those are the underwriting challenges that developers are having across the country. But really, so what areas are we focusing on? Right now, we know that any area has an area median income of 90,000 or greater, we can construct a building that it works. We know that. We can get down to, we know in some markets, depending on land costs and stuff, $75,000 area median income. So we're doing a deal in Princeton, Texas, 400 units. We were not doing it with bonds before, but we're really maybe thinking about converting it to a bond execution deal now, because our tenant at 75,000 area median income, 80% of that's 56,000. That's our tenant anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So we are really thinking about converting that, and then the partners that partner with us on that could reap their benefits exempt from taxes.
So the one in Princeton, where is it at? Because I want to go see it because both of my daughters live there, and Princeton used to be this little small sleepy town, and it just blew up, like basically like Frisco going to blow up.
That particular, it's on Monte Carlo and FM 75. Once Monte Carlo turns off to the left and goes north and then runs parallel to 380.
Mm-hmm.
And you go down there a couple of miles, you'll pass a junior high school on the right. There's an apartment complex coming up right across the street. I don't think they've come out of the ground yet, other than with plumbing. You go to the next stop sign, which is a quarter mile down the way, make a left, and you'll see our development there.
Okay. Next question, if you don't mind me asking.
No.
I have some family land it's a rural area.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we're looking to do, since it's always been one of my purposes, affordable housing as well. We got about almost 100 acres, but we also have a tree farm on there, and we have close to maybe like 60 acres that we can like split off to do something with it. It's just how do you go and really get let me rewind. How do you go and underwrite that to make sure it's the right thing? It's just going off of the median income on there to make sure it's going to be working right, Is that what you're looking for?
That's the first thing I start with, because that tells you if there's either any income there to pay for anything.
Mhm.
And then if there's if there's an income there great enough to substantiate income, then substantiate construction, then you start thinking about what do you want to build. And that's where we get down to hiring a market study. Victor, you got 100 acres there, that could be a whole planned unit community, right? But we would literally give that thought process to a market study engineer, and then they would take our thought process and support it or tear it up with data and say that this market has growing economy, there are jobs coming to the area, it's growing by so certain percentage every year, or this is the worst idea area ever. People are leaving this area by the droves and nobody's going to live here. And so that's from the thought process of finding the area median income and is there enough income there to support construction. The money we spend, the first money we spend is on that market study. And that becomes really the Bible for what you can do from there.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Alvin,
Alright.
as an accredited
Courtney.
investor, what's the minimum investment they can do at this time? How do you have it set up?
As an accredited investor, Courtney, since we're not asking for money right now and you just asked a question, this PPM is set up to where as an accredited investor, you would have an investment amount from 50,000 as a minimum to no maximum. Typically in a situation where you've got a syndicated deal, you would not even want, I've been looking at deals in Beaumont and Orange, but can't find a neighborhood in Beaumont that works. I was looking for them over there by the mall, and got some great land over there owned by the Parigis, but the numbers didn't work on the income. So I'm sorry, but yeah. So I think I answered. Did I answer your question? 50,000 as a minimum, up to no maximum. Typically on a syndicated deal, you would not have one investor put in more than 20% of the equity amount, because that investor would have to be underwritten as just like the GP would. And but in this particular transaction, that's not the case. So we could literally have an institution come in and say, here's your 10 million, put me with your people. And that institutional money becomes totally exempt from income taxes of that institution. Greg, nice to see you here. Lewis, good to see you. Ruben, hey, Rashmi, Earl, Andy, Darren. So man, that's the goal here. Well, that's not the goal. That's the target, 20,000 units, $10 million on this first deal. And let's do it together. Man, it's been a really great hour for me. If you guys need any additional information, my email is alvin@372hope.org. Our website is hopehousingfoundation.org. Our website is under construction. Hey, thank you, Greg. Our website is under construction because once we got rejuvenated and I rekindled this fire, I knew our new website needed to match my enthusiasm around what we're really doing. So, but you can go there, you can get access to everything, and I look forward to partnering with you guys later. We're gonna do some great things together. So, need anything, just let me know. See you soon. Thank you.